Good morning. Good morning. We have a fun-filled episode going on today. We're with a former special educator turned into a real estate investor and realtor in the state of Colorado. It's going to be a banger of episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let's hope you get lots and lots of good information to make ourselves the best version of ourselves. Cheers. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk to Aaron Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Good morning. This morning, let's everyone give a warm welcome to my main man, Dan. Dan, thanks for coming on to the show today.
Tanner, thank you for having me. That was an epic intro.
Hey, that's what we're all about here, trying to make it. We were just showing some of Dan's content. Let me get it back on the screen real quick. Most active on Instagram. If you guys want to give him a follow, there's a link in the description. But the first couple seconds, it seems you got to try and bring the fire, be exciting, and just trying to get out there and build this personal brand nowadays to stand apart.
And honestly, like, you are so good at it. I've been following you now for a little while, and like, your stuff is just, your energy is top notch. You bring the fire. I love it.
Oh, thanks. Very, very sweet. We're Dan's being too nice. He how he got talking about eyeballs and stuff. Before we get into Dan's backstory, I want to bring out this email letter that you keep coming in. It's funny how email marketing, it's like one of those things. It's so old, it's new. So this is actually, so keep collecting emails, folks. This is how I actually got engaged with Dan. But let's go ahead and we'll jump right into, let's just give me some background about how you got into real estate. I know you had a job previously, and kind of let us know what you got going on nowadays.
Yeah, man. This definitely was not the original intention. So, I mean, going way back, I went to school for environmental science originally. So, A, I had no plans of being a teacher. B, real estate was never something I even thought was possible. Like, growing up, we were middle class, lower middle class. So, you got the typical job. You worked for your entire life. And pretty much right when I got out of college, I'd always worked like summer schools, and like between breaks, I'd worked with kids. My parents are both in school districts and different jobs. And
Okay.
so, yeah, I mean, after I graduated college originally for my undergrad, I moved to Australia for a year. So that was kind of just, I lived in a van, did the whole camper thing. Whereas a lot of my friends are just freaking out about getting that first job. I literally left with like $2,000 to my name and 60 grand in student loan debt. So fast forward, after that year trip, we moved to Portland. My now wife, which is my girlfriend at the time, this was 14 years ago. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So we moved to Portland, and honestly, I went straight back to getting a teacher assistant job. Something I was qualified for just based on random things I did. And within like 6 months of that, they're like, Dan, you're going back to school. Like, you got the energy. We don't have enough male teachers, etc. And fast forward about a year and a half, and I was in the classroom teaching. So, as far as the special educator thing goes, a lot of people have different views on what that actually means, because there's all kinds of different levels of it. So what I taught, third, fourth, and fifth grade, pretty much boys that were experiencing social and emotional issues, violence, just the typical kind of street kids. So very different from what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
And, like, we can dig into some crazy stories on that one, but after 5 years of that, like, I was burnt. Like, I wasn't myself. Started coming home. Like, when you're dealing with violence and, parents that are also similar levels, except for the adult version, and it's like, it builds on you. And I'm a very patient guy. So like, this just turned into, like, I realized, like, damn, I need to do something different. Like, this is crushing me. And I was 27 at the time.
Yeah.
So I sold everything I owned and moved to New Zealand. kind of followed up with my original, this is what I know how to do. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we sold everything, took off, and spent an entire year just traveling in a van north to South Island. And during that time is when I got connected to Bigger Pockets, which is,
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So started the podcasting, the books, like how can the average person get ahead in the world? You know, obviously educated, but like that's not paying the bills long term, you know, and
Mhm.
just not building like wealth. I couldn't really get too far ahead. So real estate, that's what came up. And pretty much that was, we got back from New Zealand and it was 2021, primetime COVID. So the whole US was shut down, whereas New Zealand, it was like, we're fine. Like we were locked down for a little bit, but you know, we came back and just didn't really know what to do. So moved up to, actually went to Arizona first on like a little road trip. We were just testing the waters, finding a new spot. So
Right. Yeah.
um, Arizona wasn't really our vibe. And then stayed with one of my old college roommates in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
And at this point, I already had the seed planted, like I'm going to be in real estate, whether it's an agent, investor, or both. And
Something.
I dove right in, like got my license and my first property at the same time. And that was, yeah, I think February 2021.
Dang. Good for you. The probably on that first home you bought, probably you snagged a pretty solid rate.
We thought it was terrible. Like obviously, like I said, like never thought real estate investing was possible for people like us, especially after
Yeah.
living in a van for a year. Like imagine,
Mhm.
we'll probably dig into this a bit more, but a lot of people are worried about qualifying for loans here. Imagine
Right.
telling the lender like, hey, I just lived in a van for the last year. I wasn't actually really working, you know, like, but
Yeah.
we jumped through a lot of hoops and, I mean, we made it happen.
These I mean, that's one of the best things about it, creativity. And I mean, someone who, it's funny how like the people like yourself moving around trying to find what works for you, but also educating yourself, tend to fall into like what it is that you're meant to do. I gotta ask, do you mind tossing us one more story from being a teacher? My girlfriend is a teacher and deals with a bunch of crazy kids all the time, so she would absolutely want to hear something that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of them. We could talk about the time I got my shoulder dislocated. The time,
Jeez.
I mean, like I said, most of my kids, I loved them all. You know, like they all when they were regulated,
Yeah.
great kids. But there's certain things that are different in their brain chemicals that change very quickly.
Yeah.
So in this situation, student got mad. I think it was over like a puzzle or something like that. Like to to most people would be not a big deal, but something went off.
Right.
Tables flipped, thrown this way, pair of scissors over here, thrown across the room over my head, essentially like that. And then that's when it gets into me like realizing now I physically have to intervene. So
Yeah.
typically we don't want to put our hands on kids. But this is
Right.
a point where this is like somebody's going to get seriously hurt.
Right.
So, I mean, in this situation, luckily I had another staff with me, and without getting into too much detail on how you actually do these holds, you know, we went in for it, and this kid was almost my weight, almost my size. I'm 170 pounds and
Yeah.
about 6 feet tall, and I slipped and did it the wrong way, and he just kicked my shoulder out, and it literally just went out that way. So, school district paid for a nice little hospital bill there, and
Oh,
still feel for it. But yeah, that was just an average day at the office.
yeah, I can't blame you for wanting to go to New Zealand. I kind of trying to, man, it's God bless all the people out there who are, because people got to get educated
Yeah,
and want to function in society. And I mean, we need everyone, whether people sometimes, people don't want to agree with it, but we are all in it together. And starts when we're kids. So, yeah, I know. Oh for one on your shoulder there, but it's maybe it was. Do you feel like that's just what you needed? Like it needed to be that extreme for you to like push you on to other things?
probably. Yeah. And also like I said, I was there 5 years. So a lot of the older teachers that had been there 10, 15, I could see it. Like I could literally see like, man, you are not enjoying this anymore. Like it's when I
Yeah.
first started, I was pumped every day, and then
Yeah.
towards the end, it was like, all right, let's just get through this. Let's make sure nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that to me, I'm the type of person that is not afraid to kind of accept like this isn't right, this isn't good, which is why I've moved
Yeah.
around so much. Like I didn't
Totally.
stay in one place through my 20s for more than a year, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just you know, based on either fun or like I need to get out of here, otherwise I'm not turning into the person I want to be, kind of thing. So yeah,
Were your parents like supportive kind of through all these transitions? And because I mean, you said that they're working in within districts, or like how was that going? I'm sure that was tough.
yeah. I mean, I pretty much, like by the time I was 16, I was pretty much fully independent.
Oh
Not in
wow.
necessarily a negative way, but things at home were a little different. And by the time I was 18, I was actually like, in their eyes, they knew I was going to be fine because I was
Mhm.
responsible. Like I wasn't, I made a lot of mistakes when I was a teenager, but you
Yeah,
know,
of course.
they trusted who I was as a person, and like we're like, okay, he'll
Yeah.
figure it out. So, I mean, once I went to college, it was like they're like, okay, yeah, we don't have any control of him anymore. We're just going to support. Yeah, like when I studied abroad in Australia, I remember telling them like, hey, by the way, I'm going to Australia next semester, and they were like, what? What? I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And ever since that trip, they just expect it. Like
Right.
they're literally like, what are you doing now? Where are you going?
Where you at, Dan?
Yeah. So I think once they saw me do it a few times, they realized like, okay, you know, you'll be good.
So you knew you did you know that you were going to come back to America? Was there a part of you that wanted to stay abroad? Do you have desires to go move abroad later in life?
Definitely. It's weird. Like when you spend time, I don't know. Have you spent an extended period of time outside of the U.S. ever?
I've only been to Canada, my man. That's out the only out of the US I've ever done. I want to do more.
So, like when you spend, I would say more than a month or two, like you really adapt to the culture and it kind of becomes you. And
Yeah.
like when you remove yourself as an American, especially because like traveling anywhere, like unfortunately people don't have the best views of Americans and they think we're all exactly the same for the most
Yeah.
part. So
Hmm.
it is tough. Like honestly, adjusting back to the, go, 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 go of America compared to New Zealand, where it's like, yeah, we'll wake up and start work at this time and we'll finish, when we're done with work, which is a slow pace because you're taking 5 or 6 breaks like throughout the
Yeah.
day. So yeah, I mean, guess to answer your question, long-term goal will tie into my real estate investing, which will allow me to do this whenever I want. Like take
Yeah.
off for a month or two and just rely on the businesses that I've set up here and, put the grind in for. Like that
Mhm.
is a huge long-term goal for us is to be able to just take off if we want.
Yeah, lighting that fire and having something engaged. I think it's so interesting you're talking about this like go, go, go mentality. Before even the show started, Dan and I were talking about like kind of beating ourselves up a little bit, kind of that entrepreneur drive. Did that have a big impact on you to slow down a little bit and like not take shit so seriously, or what was the takeaway from that?
Like just imagine how much we're connected to computers and phones like right now, which I
Mhm.
was like I was before, like my normal 2019 like I iPhone on the phone nonstop. Imagine
Of
like
course,
you have
yeah.
to go a week straight where you have to drive to a specific spot just to get some cell service or maybe internet at a McDonald's. Like, oh yeah, it was a
Wow.
big adjustment for a good
Yeah.
for a good reason, like I
Yeah.
think I think I read 50 books that year in New Zealand.
Holy crap.
So
Yeah, that
like
is.
when you don't actually like you physically can't connect to things, like it forces you to slow down. Like I picked guitar back up, started playing a lot on all my
Oh, good for
trips,
you.
which I just don't do here because I have so many other things to fill my time. Like I think
Yeah.
everyone should disappear for at least a month if you can, which everyone can if you take the right steps to do it.
Yeah. It's so you're saying quit my job and just go for it? Or I mean, if that's maybe where you're at, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
like
It's Did you
A
have
lot of people
some
are scared to do
fear?
that, man.
Yeah.
Like even like when I left teaching, they're like, Dan, what are you gonna do? Like this is you have health insurance, which I still don't.
Yeah.
I still don't to this day since I left, which is like, yeah, it is
Yeah.
scary. But also I
Uh-huh.
have these experiences that I never would have had if I just stayed comfortable.
Right.
So
It's interesting you bring that up. One of my other buddies, entrepreneur, and he runs a health and nutrition store.
okay.
And I was asking him about insurance. He's like, I'm the insurance. He's like, I put good foods in my body and this and that and doing this and that. And I never really
True.
looked at it that way.
True. Yeah, that's very
Well,
true.
you came back to America, kind of getting back in the hustle and bustle of things. You talked about you finally, it sounded like so you got to Boulder and you saw it's actually in the background of your email over there, Boulder. Help me out. What are the four peaks or whatever outside of Boulder? What are
The
those called?
Flatirons.
Flatirons, yeah.
Yeah, in the Front Range. Yeah.
The did you just get there and think this is my place? I have to live here. It's so beautiful, or like what kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it to be honest is very similar to a lot of spots we were at in New Zealand as far as the mountains go. Like
Mm,
living in Oregon, you do have the mountains, but you got to drive a ways, and it's not just right in your face. So like the fact
mhm.
that we can drive, I'm also a big fisherman and stuff like
Oh,
that.
cool.
So like this is a spot to be for stuff like that. Yeah, it connected a lot of the dots, and yeah, and also it was COVID, so we really couldn't just freely fly wherever or go check out these spots. And I think
Yeah.
it was kind of meant to be, you know.
You fly fisherman?
Yeah,
Is
this
that
was my
hard to
first year.
do? Is that
Trust me.
hard to do?
I grew up in Minnesota where that's not as popular. You know, I was classic lake fisherman with the spinning rod, and like if you do that here, people laugh at you and look at you weird a little bit. So luckily, I made friends quick. They're like, Dan, all right, come on, let's do this. And this was the first year I was successful at consistently not just leaving frustrated with like tangled line and me looking like a little kid in the parking lot. So yeah,
That's awesome. So tell me so you bought a house
yeah.
and you didn't have a job? You were a realtor, or how'd you snag this place? Where's it at?
Yeah, I mean that was part of the barrier that most people would have quit, I think, is
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. I mean, I was working actually at a company that brewed beers, so like I had a warehouse kind of job. Just it
Okay.
was just a random thing I picked up. My wife had another job, kind of like a factory worker as well. So all we had to
Mhm.
do is prove, 2 weeks of income and then have our employers say like, yep, they're full time, here's what they make. And then yeah, luckily the prices weren't as extreme as they are now and interest rates were lower. So
Mhm.
we made just enough based on our random jobs that we could get in. So a little bit
Oh,
different
good
these
for
days.
you. Where's it at?
Our house,
Yeah.
yeah, we're in Longmont, so like 20 minutes north of Boulder. It's like the little sister of Boulder, the affordable
Oh,
Boulder.
okay. North of
Yeah.
Boulder. Okay. Cool.
Everyone from Colorado is gonna be like, oh, come on, dude. But yeah, no, Longmont's a beautiful little city. It's kind of country feel to it. So it kind
uh,
of reminds me of Minnesota life. But you
oh,
still got the
that's,
mountains right there.
yeah, totally. Where do you serve most of your clients?
So
In
I
that
work
area,
from
or?
a lot of people are in Denver. A lot of people want to be in that area. So pretty
Mhm.
much Denver all the way up to northern Colorado, Fort Collins, Greeley area,
Mhm.
um, which works well for me because I'm right in the middle. It's like 35, 40 minutes to Denver, 30 minutes north. So wherever I need to be, it works out pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
You So when it comes to kind of going to meet clients, has technology allowed you, do you have to be present for everything with showings and stuff? You got to do a lot of driving and going around. How's that? Kind of like a day in the life work for you, I guess
Yeah.
is a good way to put it.
I mean, luckily I learned how to use Zoom really quickly. Like that is,
Yeah.
75% of my job is just talking through this so that we don't have to drive, especially when it
Mhm.
was COVID time. It was like, yeah, we can't meet up. So that was a time when I had to go virtually, like video shoot for showings and stuff like that. But now
Yeah.
we're back to normal pretty much as far as, showing properties and being present for closings and stuff like that. Yeah. I drive a lot. I think I've done at least 5,000 miles, something like that this year.
Dang.
Yeah.
This
So,
do you have a favorite neighborhood or a favorite deal that you've done?
favorite deal, neighborhood. I mean, it's interesting because I work with a lot of different people, from
Mhm.
21-year-olds that want to do house hacking, which we can talk about as well, up to like
Yeah.
bigger investors that they're just looking for a hot deal, doesn't matter where it is. So, I mean, there's lots of hot spots in Denver where a lot of people are going, but I'm a big fan of Longmont. Like the neighborhood up here is one big neighborhood essentially.
Mhm.
It's there's some spots that are different, but um, yeah, I guess we can talk about a good deal.
Well, maybe it'd be helpful to go in before we get into the deal. House hacking, like what is that? How
Yeah,
does that work? I know it's with bigger pockets. I heard it on so many podcasts and stuff, but for our
yeah,
guests at home who maybe aren't big on real estate and they just want to do like one deal, I mean, this would be a good technique to go about building some
yeah.
wealth.
Thank you for reminding me that too, because like I talk these terms that I just assume because I say it so often, and this is the language I speak. That
Yeah.
not everyone understands everything that way. But house hacking is the reason that I was actually able to start my own business and go full time into real estate.
Yeah.
Um, so the most simple way to break it down is you either buy a single family house or a 2 to 4 unit, duplex up to a 4 unit property, and you live in one
Hmm.
of them and you rent out the rest. So for
Hmm.
us, this is where we're shooting at right now, is my house hack, and it's a 5-bed, 2-bathroom house, and we rent out 4 bedrooms and we live in one of them. And yeah, so we've been doing that for the last 2.5, 3 years, going on 3 years now. So
Do you mind
um,
sharing what like what is a room rent for? Can you share that?
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, pretty much in Colorado, it's almost similar between Denver, Longmont, the bigger cities, the prices are almost the same. You're looking at like
Uh-huh.
750 to 800 per room, which I know depending on where you're listening to this at, that can sound kind of crazy, but also you could
Yeah.
rent a studio for 2 grand, literally like 2 blocks from my house. So, for people that aren't afraid to, share some space with people, which is not for
Hmm.
everybody. And also that's not the
Right.
only way to do it. Like the way I'm doing it is the most extreme because we're literally just sharing a house open space with everyone. But
Yeah.
again, we lived in a van with backpackers for multiple years, so like this isn't that different for us, and
Hmm.
we get to choose who's living here because we're the house owners. So,
Totally.
but it doesn't have to be that extreme. And I guess yeah, going back to the numbers, we can break that down a little bit. Like our mortgage is around 2,300, and our
Nice.
total rental income is 3,200 a month.
Uh-huh.
And that's with us living here. So
Okay.
if you calculate that quickly, you can understand how that allowed me to be comfortable because most
Right.
people's biggest living expense is their housing and rent, you know,
Hmm.
and but yeah, like we're providing. It's a big house. It's not like we're in this tiny little thing. It's 2,200 square feet. So, and
Right.
we fully remodeled it coming in. So these people have a big creative space, and it's yeah. Most of these people are my like closest friends too, because I didn't know
Oh,
anybody when
sweet.
we bought this. Like I literally didn't know many people. So like some
Yeah.
of my first tenants turned into my good friends. So um, pros and cons to it for sure, but some of the less extreme versions like the duplexes and stuff like that, if you see those,
Hmm.
like you can have your own, like essentially your full own apartment, and then the other
Yeah.
side is bringing in some income to at least offset your rent, plus you're
Yeah.
building equity and stuff like that.
Hmm.
You're an
What is
investor
that
too,
like?
right?
Say what?
You're an investor too, right?
Yep, we have 13 units between me and my girlfriend. Our house values are about a fourth, a fifth of what they're doing over there in Colorado, here in Hodunk, Illinois. But that's going into these, like, man, it seems like such a great way to. I feel like I would work really hard if I had other people living in my space because I wouldn't want to look like some slob laying around all day. Is that true for you at all?
Oh, big time, big time. Like, not only do I feel responsible for like the house being clean and just operating and stuff like that, but also like I work from home a lot too. So like
Yeah.
I want people to see like, yeah, Dan's working hard, not just like living off of me living in the
Hmm.
house, because like you can feel that sometimes, but
Yeah.
like a day where I'm just playing video games all day, it's like, hey, hopefully nobody's coming home to see I'm just not working and they just work their full 8-hour shift wherever. And it's like, yeah. But yeah, there, and it also keeps me, on the healthier side. Like I'm not coming home from the bars at 1 a.m. or something like that, because I don't want people to see, that side. If it forces you to be, a better version of yourself. You are in your own business essentially. So yeah,
Totally. Because this classic, I can hear like me and like family members talking about it, like, do as I say, not as I do. And it's like,
yeah,
that's a bunch of horse crap. That doesn't work. And
yeah,
it's like, if you don't want people stumbling and drunk, which there's nothing wrong with alcohol,
yeah.
whatever. I mean,
Like,
to each
don't get
their
me
own, right?
wrong. Yeah,
Colorado's got some damn good beer. Um,
yeah,
but each to their own. But it's like, you set the example for what it is that you want. How do you find these people? They don't just come in and steal all your stuff, or like you got
yeah.
like, is there a place you list these on? How do people find renters for this?
Yeah, that's getting the keys is the hard part, but also the next hardest part is running the business and making sure you're doing it to protect your asset and yourself. Like
Hmm.
obviously, when I tell a lot of people about this idea, it's like, oh, you just have, especially like my older family, like you just have strangers living in your house, and it's like, well, essentially, yes, they were at one point, but I go
Hmm.
through a full interview process as well. Like,
Hmm.
I do background checks, credit checks, all the typical stuff you would do, but also, like the way that you find them, Facebook Marketplace. There's multiple different websites that are just for rent by the room type scenarios.
Hmm.
Especially in Colorado, there's like 6 different groups that are specifically for finding rooms for rent.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, aside from that, it's just literally connecting with the person before even getting like thinking about it, and also trying not to be too Minnesotan and nice, because I made that mistake a few times when I started this.
You have any tenant horror stories worth
No,
sharing?
no, not me personally. Some of
Uh-huh.
my clients that are doing this, definitely, because they didn't listen to me. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, no, nothing terrible with me. Some people just didn't work out personality wise, because I try and keep
Yeah.
everyone similar as far as like quiet, laid back, similar sleep schedules. But the people that don't do that, yeah, if you have
Have
like
you
a bartender, for example, that works nights, gets home at 2, but
right.
then you have a engineer that's up at 4, going to work, getting ready, like
Hmm.
you have to just think about stuff like that. So
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I haven't really. I've definitely had some disgusting tenants, dude.
yeah,
Oh man, there's this one. I'll have to send you a picture of it, but this one hoarder. I bought this duplex. Got a steal of a price, man. Got a steal of a price, and it was loaded to the brim with shit,
oh
and in the upper unit, and it was absolutely horrible and atrocious. But it seems like when you do the homework like Dan does, which is smart, and you make sure that the people fit it, then these problems tend to go away. Well, do you do month? I got a bunch, folks. I got a bunch of real estate questions today. Selfishly, I'm trying to learn
yeah.
myself, so humor me. But you do month to month leases with these people. You do yearly leases. How do you? What do you like?
See, that's a good tip and strategy to think about too, because I know a lot of people when they first get started, like they'll just sign a year lease because they want to be done. I start
Yeah.
with a month to month. I'll tell them straight up, like, hey, we're gonna do 2 months. This is a trial period for both of us, for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if you're not feeling good about it, if I'm not, there's no weird feelings. After
Mm-hmm.
2 months, then yeah, I love to sign a year lease, and everybody here right now has been here for over a year, mostly. So once
Yeah.
you find the right vibe, keep them there. Like I don't raise my rents. I haven't. If somebody moves out, then I will, but I want to keep it exactly where it's at as far as the vibe, especially since I live here. Like the
Mm-hmm.
vibes in my house are the most important compared to any sort of monetary part.
this my girlfriend is super good at like designing and laying things out, like everything, feng shui, vibe, and and it is really special. I'm terrible with that stuff myself, but
I
it
laugh
is.
because I am absolutely terrible at that.
I'm with you, brother. It's but just it's interesting how it's important to have a space that doesn't stress you out, right?
Yeah.
And with all these screens and work nonstop and being go, like we talk about, you gotta have a place to decompress.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you feel like you got self-care routines that like what do you do to alleviate, to breathe a little bit, to kind of unwind with all this busy stuff you got going on?
That like straight up, that is one of my weaknesses, is knowing when to stop. And like, because I will straight up work till 7 o'clock without knowing it and just realize like, what, I'm brain dead right now. I didn't do anything for myself. Like I actually didn't eat till 2 o'clock today because I was just going back to back on calls.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, I do, but it could be a lot better. I mean, I play a lot of disc golf when it's nice out. Winter's tough because getting outside is my thing. Like I play disc golf. I like to fish, like we talked about. Just taking the dog to the park. But the winter time is it's a tough one for me.
This you're not a winter sports guy?
I used to be. Yeah, like we talked about earlier, like not having health insurance is I'm 34 now. So like that to me, like I also dislocated my shoulder snowboarding. I've broken my ankle
Happens
skateboarding. Like I've hurt myself a lot. So I also it's a terrible excuse to do it. But yeah, trying to get back into snowboarding this year. I got some buddies that are just pushing me. So yeah, stuff like that'll help.
Yeah. Getting involved, friends. You would I guess from an educational approach, I wanted to ask you kind of, so you were in the education space, you're well traveled. How does some of these principles that you've taken along the way apply to your real estate business today? Like how you're interacting with people and how you make people comfortable, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think about this all the time, actually, and like it hits me the further along I get into each kind of career or path I take. The first piece of advice is like travel as much as you can, because I cannot tell you how many times now that I've like met or talked to a potential client or just a person in general and be like, they mention Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, Laos, Indonesia, Jamaica, and all these places I've been. I was, oh yeah, I've been there. Like, and there was like, what? Oh, you've done that? So like traveling alone, like regardless of what I did there, it's just a way to connect with people and have something to talk about.
Totally.
Like when I was 18, I was terrified to just hold a conversation. And now I feel like I could probably meet anybody and talk about somewhere they've been or something they've done. And so that part, 100%. And then on the education side, like obviously it's drilled in me. I have a master's degree in education, which was like, this is how you teach, this is how people learn. So, that is essentially what I'm doing as a realtor, is teaching, especially on the investment side, like teaching people the numbers side of it, the pros and cons, and then actually how it works. So I'm teaching all day. I'm still doing it just a little bit differently. So yeah.
Who would have thought Dan the man traveling around and then being a teacher? I mean, just knowing the what's up and being able to communicate. I mean, these are the best real estate realtors and investors on the planet, right? It's just kind of, you just had a really unique way of coming about it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool. Well, we've talked about kind of some promotions. I talked about how I've been reading your email, seeing you over on Instagram. What's kind of the focus for marketing moving forward? Kind of getting that brand out there and kind of getting more people. How do you get clients?
Yeah, I mean, lots of different ways. There's a million ways you can do it, but something that I've always kind of shied away from or just been afraid of really is stuff like this, like getting myself on camera, putting myself out there. Like if anybody checks out my Instagram, that most recent reel that I did, it was like a buddy of mine was like, Dan, come on, you're funny, you know how to talk, like let's just do it. Yeah, this one here. And I was like, okay, let's go for it. So expect a lot more stuff like this coming out that's supposed to be funny, educational, and kind of getting people engaged. That's not just like boring, like just sold, or the basic stuff a lot of people do, which
Yeah.
I'll do that stuff too, but looking to do a lot more of the video stuff, social media, which literally I didn't even have an Instagram until I became a realtor, other than like I had it just to like say what's up while I was traveling to people. So just I'm realizing the technology, you got to keep up with it, otherwise you're gonna fail.
This it seems like there's so many avenues to take. Like you talked about, there's a million ways to take, and been trying to be easier on myself on just instead of doing 100 things once, picking like one thing to do 100 times. And it's so tough because it can feel monotonous, but it's the only way to get good at anything. I feel like is to just do it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, like when I first started, I was getting the same thing. Like, Dan, you got a cold call, you got a door knock, you got to open houses.
Yeah.
And like, I did all of it. I forced myself, as uncomfortable as it was and still is. I realized with myself, like, you need to accept what you are comfortable with and what actually is going to make you want to do this for a long time. And so like, I've started to cancel out the things that hey, did I actually give this a try? Or was I just, half-assing it to say to people I was doing it? And like the things that like literally weren't A, working, or B, just not making me feel good. Like I've just learned to cancel those out and just double down on the things that I do like, and the things that make me want to keep like being proud of what I'm doing. So nailed it there. Beautiful. I think that goes to a lot of business owners, right? Like,
oh my God,
you can't just like do what everyone else is doing because they're doing it. You have to find what makes you stand out for that business.
Yeah.
So
perfect. This, trying to really nail down what it is that you enjoy and picking that, because that's it seems like that's the superpower, because there's everything that like we're good at, other people suck at or don't want to do. That's why we get paid. And it's so hopefully maybe that can be a little up. I know it's been a little more uplifting for me on doing certain things, instead of like being like, oh, it's another, like, it's not going to be fun until I make X amount of money, or if I achieve this or whatever, kicking the can down the road. Life's too short to suffer, folks.
True. And don't wait too long to realize you are. Like, seriously.
Yeah, seriously. So what's you talked about goals a little bit. You got this bang crib up in Longmont, and you're continuing to grow your real estate business. What are your goals as a real estate pro and investor?
My goals change a lot based on, again, the same stuff we talked about, comfortability and life changes as well. But yeah, I want to scale a portfolio to the point where the wife and I can take off, like I mentioned. That's kind of the bigger goal overall on that. But as far as like inside of the business, some of my bigger goals is getting back into the education space, like potentially actually going into college classes and teaching, young kids how they can use this vehicle, even if they don't think they can. Because that was me, literally.
Cool. Yeah.
That's kind of the bigger long-term kind of goal for me, is to mesh the two perfectly, versus just like finding clients, getting the houses, like actually broadly teaching people and kind of opening up their minds that like, hey, look at this guy that came from not a whole lot. That's, I'm not there yet. I have a long ways to go, but I'm going to keep pushing for it. So scaling my own portfolio, and then just getting better at, this side of things too. So.
You ever give a public speech, Dan?
Yeah. I was a best man this summer, so I did that. But
hey, nice.
No, actually, like after I studied abroad, I was a peer advisor. So I guess I've been an educator for a while. So I would go to like literally like the freshman classes and give speeches about studying abroad, which I hated, and I did not want to do it, especially because they were almost my age, and like, hey, I saw you at a party like the other night, but I was talking about something I loved, and that was the difference. Like, You know, I was telling people about how this experience changed my life. And like, why do you ask? Why you ask if I public speaking?
It seems like the easiest avenue to talk to people. This, if you could just go to colleges, and you can talk to just like one of my clients, he gives a ton of talks, and all we do is we make a sexy little video, we send it to the university free of charge. We'll come talk free of charge, and they're like, "Oh, that's great. Jerry just canceled for the 10th time. We just don't want to pay anybody." And you come in there. I'm big on, especially real estate agents, and I'm no longer a realtor, but my philosophy is still the same in coaching. I believe grabbing the attention of youth and getting them on social media and interacting with them now, like these are the people who keep the economy propped up over the next 10. I like to think in decades. And like just getting them on there, connecting with them, and like you be the guy. And then if you're the guy for house hacking in Colorado, where it's like it's specific, it's good, you come, you talk, you connect with them, and then you just pay whoever. You just come, or I have my girlfriend do it, come and record you. Boom, you got content. Boom, you're making contacts. You're just getting, and then after you're done talking, everyone wants to talk to you. But at networking events, it's, I don't know about you, but I'm like kind of in the corner, like, should I talk to that guy? Or, but if you give the talk, everyone's like, Dan, that was awesome. That was great.
True.
Shake my hand. How's it going? Type deal. I went on a tangent, but I'm a big believer, and I think it's easy takings.
I can talk in front of 40 10-year-olds all day. I'll tell you that much.
They're going to buy houses sometime.
True. Starting early.
Makes me choke because they're probably more active on social media than I am. But
true, like seriously, yeah.
So we talked about some of your goals. I wanted to jump on the board here, and I want to do a couple coaching exercises just so people have a better idea of what I do, and also get a little deeper dive on you and some of the things that you're looking to work on coming into 2024. Best investment we can make is in ourselves. Quoted that from, I don't know if that's from Warren Buffett, or I've had two people correct me and say, like, that's Kim Kardashian. And I was like,
my grandpa told me that, so I don't know.
Exactly. Kim K going back in time. Okay. Let's get it rocking and rolling, folks. So we're going to do some coaching exercises here. Dan the man's with us today. What's the longest you ever gone on a podcast or a recording?
Probably about an hour.
Yeah. I feel like some of these like 3-hour shows, it's like, am I just not doing anything else today or what?
I mean, I've listened to like some full day ones, and it's like, well, there's got to be a good purpose for that.
Yeah, it's got to be some. I think I've listened to David Green. If anyone doesn't know him, he's from Bigger Pockets. I've probably listened to about 10,000 hours of this man just talk about
Same.
He's like, do this, do that. Loved it. Shout out to David Green, sponsor the show. Please, God, or come on. I love you. All right. So the first coaching exercise is we're just going to get a rating system going. We're just going to kind of look at the broad categories of life and see where we can make some improvements. So I want you to rate these 3 categories from 1 to 10 for me. So what would you rate your overall health right now, 1 to 10?
1 to 10. I'd probably say a 5.
5. Okay, on to the next one. We're talking about wealth. And wealth and business, I kind of put in the same category. What do you got for wealth, business? What do you think, 1 through 10?
We'll probably say 6 on that. I mean, that's debatable. I guess that's different for everybody, huh?
Mm-hmm. Some say health as well.
Yeah.
Relationships. Okay. Okay, relationships. What you got for me?
7.
7. Okay.
I value that a lot.
Yeah, talk to me. Why relationships score the highest one?
I mean, that's the part where I can shut down from being professional business Dan to just being Dan completely, and I've stayed close as friends. My best friend and my wife and I have been together 12 years.
Yeah,
So
that's beautiful.
very close, best friend, 16 years, family, we talk all the time. I call them crying, once a month. This is what's going on kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's something I
awesome.
value, but also could get a lot better, I think.
Sweet. Well, we'll start out with relationships since we're still on it. What is one nice thing that you can do for somebody you love? What is one nice thing that you can do for somebody you love?
Call them often. Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. What's
Yeah.
up? What'd you say?
Call them often. Like
Okay.
more, call your grandma like weekly. I started doing that this last year and I didn't realize like how much happier it made her. She started calling me back if I didn't call her after a week. Like, you okay, Dan? And I just
Yeah.
realized like she looked forward to it. And I never like I would go years, like calling her once or twice a year when I was traveling. Now it's like stuff like that. Call the people you love often, tell them hi. Like so that they're not worried when you call. Like, what's wrong? Like I changed the perspective on that.
It's so nice to hear you say that. Really, it's when we get lost in the chaos of business, go, 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 like we've talked so much about today. And I mean, what are we doing this for?
Yeah.
Right? To have more time to talk to these people. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I'm with you. It's easy to let it get behind, but it doesn't make it that much less important. And like you said, it's making you feel amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how do we get the 6 to a 7? How do we get the 6 to a 7? What's a piece of advice you give to yourself? Well,
Yeah, I think we covered that a little bit, like stepping myself and pushing myself more to get out of that comfort zone and
mm-hmm,
figuring out what's not working and what's going to work. And to me right now, it's going to push just trying to be more visible and also just
mm-hmm,
educating myself. Like just keep continuing to learn, educator, but also getting educated. That's been very
yeah.
super, super important for me and big goals going forward as far as building that.
Give me an action item. What, like 2 Instagram posts a day, or what's this look like? Getting out of the comfort
Yeah.
zone.
So, like I don't like setting numbers on post stuff like that. Like for me, it's
Mm-hmm.
more like making 10 friends a week. And those
Oh,
those
okay.
friends are within the business that I'm networking with that know me and know Dan's inside of the business. It's like I said, I knew 2 people when I moved here, and now I literally know thousands of people, not just in the real estate industry, but that are like people I went fishing with, just golfing, and just building those friends so that I'm more visible physically around
Yeah,
people.
that's awesome. I mean, yeah, really, what's this? What are we doing all this for? Eyeballs, attention, like
Yeah.
clients, like what is, I mean, if you can just beeline it, 10 friends. I love that number. That's a good number. Okay, health. All right, this is the last one that we scored on. How do we take this 5 to a 6?
Um, yeah. Like honestly, probably I would say just I have to set structure for myself. Like if I don't do this, like I said, I will work 15, 16 hours. Like right now it's
Mm-hmm,
6 o'clock and I'm still doing the Zoom call.
mm-hmm.
So honestly, structuring more time where I actually just shut down. Um, I'm guilty of just feeling like I have to answer every call, every text. Like
Yeah.
especially if I have something under contract with a client, that's the only time I should be after a certain hour. Like
Mm-hmm.
if answering that call because it's necessary. But other than that, setting strict hours.
Yeah,
So,
boundaries.
so boundaries, blocking time where I should be working and when I should actually just be focusing on myself or shutting down.
Boundaries. What's say if you could start with I work with quite a few workaholics, and it's starting with like one day is the no-go Dan go of I do not work right now. Is there a day of the week that you think you could set some boundaries on that you would be like, it's because you know what's been with you for every part of your business? You.
Yeah.
So making
Yeah.
sure that that you're still running good, because if you're not running good,
Oh
the
yeah.
rest of it goes to crap anyway.
That's why I'm excited for a little break next week for sure. But yeah, like I've tried the 1 day thing, but like for me, it works best is to like my phone goes on silent at 9 o'clock. So
Mhm.
regardless of who's calling or texting, I'm probably not going to see that till the morning. So I have to start very little because I'm at the extreme side where it's like 7 o'clock. I wake up, check the emails, and then it's straight till 9 o'clock. But yeah, like you make some good points and you broke it down very simply there. Like you're making me think on myself and reflect right now. So
Thank you. And everyone, please feel free to go back, write these out, back pocket them, share with your partners, people, because it's. I think it's not only important. Dan scored himself high in the relationships. Not only is this stuff for us, but I don't want to be with someone who works 24/7.
trust me. Yeah.
So what's one way you can? Last question for you. Before we kind of get into some more promotion stuff, what is one way you can be kinder to yourself this year?
Kinder to myself. Huh. Interesting question. You ask everyone these same questions?
I jumble them all up.
Okay.
To try and get a good roundabout. What is one way you can be kinder to yourself?
I don't remember if we were talking about this before we recorded or during the recording, but not being too hard on myself. Like I am my own worst critic. Like my entire life, literally, other people say things to me about what I could be better, and like, oh yeah, it hurts. But like literally, if I feel I messed up on something, like especially when you're talking about real estate transactions and you got people with their money on the line, it's not my money. If I mess something up like that, that is one thing that I've just started the last couple of months, like focusing on realizing like I need to do my best, but also be able to recognize when I did everything I could. So I think, overall just being less hard on myself, which is going to take a lot of work, and I don't know how to do it. So maybe I need to hire you.
We all need a life coach in a corner, at least a good friend to kind of keep probing and asking. That's it's incredible because this fine line of becoming the best and working really hard
and comparing yourself to the best that you think are the best,
right?
But you don't know.
If we can model other people, but just compare ourselves to where we've been. If you looked at yourself a year ago and who you are today, look at all this crazy stuff you're doing.
I would not expect it.
It just makes things lighter and more joyful. I think just making sure, if anything, take away from it. We just like Dan's been doing this for a while. And I know I was listening to these podcasts on real estate investing and stuff, and 2 months had gone by. I'd listened to 100 podcasts and I didn't have a deal. And I was like, I'm a loser. These guys are 21 and they're making 30 grand a month. Clearly I'm just an idiot. And it's like, okay, well, hold up. This but I think it's just so easy to get into that state of mind,
Yeah. And I mean, typically podcasts, they're picking the good stories, not the people that failed. So
exactly.
I did not realize that until I got experience, and I was like, okay, wait, no. Like I should have a lot more properties right now personally, like I helped 15 people in the last year and a half get investments and make money, but I am still at my first for various life reasons. But everyone's got to go at their own pace.
The money comes when we're ready. I truly believe that. And
keep telling myself that.
Dan, you're doing great. It's where can people learn more about you? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram and Facebook are exactly the same. Dan.guenther, REI. That's where I'm most active. But if you want to email me, dguenther, GUENTHER 0703 at Gmail. Love to add you on my list here if you guys want to check out some properties. If you have questions, I don't just work in Colorado. That's where I'm licensed, but I'm also part of a team that we do nationwide deals. So I got a referral network. I got people all over the place that are doing real estate investments from, your small little single families all the way up to multi-million-dollar deals. So if you're curious, this is something anyone can do to build a future for yourself and your family. I fully believe in that.
That's awesome. From New Zealand to Arizona, back up to Colorado, starting Minnesota, and chucking this. My brother lives in Denver, so I hope I get to meet you in person someday. But that's all we got here for today, folks. I'm gonna go ahead. Dan, stick around. I'm gonna be chatting with you here for a moment. But I'm gonna do my little outro before we bounce. All right, folks. That was Dan the Man, Dan Guenther. I'll have all of his information in the description. Make sure to check him out. House hacking. It seems like such a genius way to get started, especially maybe you didn't inherit $1 million freaking dollars from your parents or whatever. But make sure to be kinder to ourselves this year. Let's keep working and getting better. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Toodles, everyone. Good night.